Hey there, Mama Work It Tribe. I'm Marissa Lonick, working mom of 4, lover of all things flow, family, and fulfillment. You're tuning in to the Mama Work It podcast, where we take aim at overwhelm, mom guilt, and exhaustion and swap them out for big dreams, belly laughs, and productivity that actually fits into your life. Every week, we dive into tips, motivation, and a healthy dose of fun so you can slay your day even when you're busy AF. Ready to feel seen, energized, and totally unstoppable? Let's get to work, mama. Hey, mamas. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So happy you're here as usual. My name is Marissa Lonick. I am the founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So excited you're here as always. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Mia Funt. She is a mom of 3 who found herself overwhelmed by the formula aisle. Have you been there? I know I have. She was confused by marketing claims, disheartened by ingredients, and craving the kind of clarity, support, and trust that just didn't exist. She quickly realized her experience wasn't unique. Many of her friends and peers felt the same exact way. So she and her brother Ron, who is a life sciences expert, spent 5 years building ByHeart, the first new vertically integrated infant formula manufacturer in the U.S. in over 15 years. ByHeart has facilities in Pennsylvania, Oregon, and Iowa. Their mission was to change the narrative from compromise to confidence by creating an all-in-one formula that parents could feel great about, made with organic, grass-fed whole milk and a patented protein blend that gets closest to breast milk, clinically proven to support easy digestion as well as immune support and brain development. I am pumped to have this conversation, even though I'm not necessarily in the formula stage of parenting anymore. I know many of our listeners are, and I just know how helpful this information is going to be for them. So Mia, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for what you do. This is really wonderful.
Yeah, of course. So I always love to hear straight from our listeners, straight from our guests, tell us more about your journey, not just as a founder, but as a working mom. I mean, you were a mom of 3 when you created ByHeart. I'd love to hear just how this all came to be and how you actually made it happen, juggling 3 kiddos and building this impressive business and brand.
Yeah, as you say, the juggle is real. That's for sure.
It is.
With each of my 3 kids, my feeding journey looked entirely different. And I don't think we appreciate that enough, that every feeding journey is so different. Even one parent has a different feeding journey with every child. With my second, Rafa, just a couple weeks after he was born, my appendix ruptured and breastfeeding wasn't even an option. And with the others, my health was different. My baby's health was different. My work situation, feeding is so personal. And what I and my brother who started the company, what we are so passionate about is the fact that all parents deserve to feel confident in the way that they feed and nourish their babies, no matter how they feed. When I was standing in the aisle as a new mom looking for a formula, I was so frustrated that what I was looking for seemed so obvious, and yet I couldn't find it. And no matter what formula I pulled for, it felt like I was forced to compromise. I obviously wanted health benefits that were proven, that I could feel confident were supporting my baby's health, and clean, high quality standards for my formula. And yet it was always a trade-off, no matter what I chose. Did I want the one with clean ingredients or the one for immune strength or brain development? And I was so frustrated by this and knew that there had to be a better way. And we had to empower parents with a formula they could finally feel confident in, so that no matter how they feed, they were feeding with confidence and without compromise.
Yeah, it was feeling like a this or that scenario is what I'm hearing you say. Is like, okay, this one or that one, which is more important, the immunity or the nutrition, all of that stuff. So yeah, that's like a really impossible decision as a parent.
Yeah. And so we got to work and we understood that the reason that there wasn't one formula that really had it all was that there hadn't been meaningful innovation in the infant formula category in so long. There were two companies that had owned the market forever. And innovation is really hard because it is the most highly regulated food in the world, as it should be, because we're feeding babies, the most vulnerable creatures. And so when we committed to truly innovating and creating a better solution for parents and for ourselves and our own babies, we understood really quickly that that would be something we'd have to be all in on. So we spent 5 years building an infant formula before we ever launched. We got together the world's experts in nutrition. We built 3 facilities so that we could have full control. We are obsessives. We want control of every step of the process because each step has a real meaningful impact on your baby and their future health. And then we ran one of the largest clinical trials in the industry. And that's because we didn't just want to make claims. We wanted to prove them so that you as a parent could have confidence, because that's what I found as a parent. There were a lot of claims and it was hard to know what to trust. And we wanted to create a whole new level of trust in your infant formula by not telling you what to do, but by giving you the information and the proof and empowering you to make the best decision for your own baby and your own family.
Yeah. And it was such a personal journey for you, as you said. I'm curious, since you started the company with your brother, was it also as personal a journey for him? Was he raising kids during that time too? Did he encounter similar, decision fatigue when it came to formula and things like that?
Yeah, so it's personal on so many levels. I mean, I feel really lucky that I'm in an industry that is so personal for everyone, no matter who I'm speaking with. It could be a reporter, it could be someone in government, it could be an ingredient provider. It's always personal. You've either had the experience of feeding your own baby or a sibling or a friend who is fed, and there's always such an intimate personal story, which makes it so much more meaningful. My brother and I both were building our families while we were building ByHeart. So we started the company when Nev, my oldest, was only 1 year old. I was fresh out of all of the guilt and confusion and insecurity of the feeding journey. And then as we were building ByHeart and I was building my family, I was having more babies and my brother was having babies, and we were really experiencing it all in real time, personally and professionally. And in fact, when we finally launched and got FDA registered and became the first new manufacturing formula in 15 years. By that time, I had had my third, and she became our first customer, which was a real kind of full circle moment. And then my brother also eventually had a little customer. So it's been really special. And then, of course, doing this with my brother has been meaningful, but also just that trust between founders, that implicit kind of trust is really what has given us a lot of strength through all of the twists and turns of our journey.
I can imagine. It is not an easy ride. It is a roller coaster. So absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So you hit upon something I want to talk about too, which is guilt. And a lot of moms struggle with guilt. And I think especially in the feeding world too, when you're in that stage and that season. But it has to do with, breast milk or formula, career ambitions, not being present enough, quality time. How have you navigated personally that mom guilt, especially as, you're raising these young kids, you're building this this business, which, like you said, you didn't just check boxes, like you really went above and beyond on all of the crossing your T's and dotting your I's, because it was so personal to you. And you didn't just want to make sure that you were doing, the bottom line due diligence, like you really wanted to do more and empower people with all this information. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, the guilt is so real. And you're right, it has so many forms. I mean, yes, it's such a big part of the feeding journey. You want to do the very best for your baby. Feeding is love. Feeding is such a human and natural thing we do. And we want to know that we're doing the very best. And unfortunately, the lack of really great options in the formula aisle means that there's been so much guilt when parents have chosen or had to use formula. And so it's our kind of life mission to really address that with a formula you can finally really feel confident in, that you are feeding formula and you are doing great for baby's health. And so, yes, there's a lot of guilt there. And I felt that as a mom. I also feel guilt that I can't do pickup from school. That's when kids come out of school, like with all of the raw and real emotions. By the time I get home, it's like, how was school? Oh, it was great. And I just have this, or it was bad, but like, it's a one-word answer. And that guilt, I deal with every day. But I think what I really try to do is reframe the guilt in my mind and say, the fact that I feel guilt means that I care. I care about all the important things. And I'm going to use that to really just continually experiment with different ways of managing my day, setting boundaries, and, through that experimentation, figure out the right way in that moment, in that season, to balance the things that are most important to me. And you never feel truly balanced. But I think that if you're channeling that guilt into just trying to do the things that are important to you, I think you'll find your way through. And you don't always feel like you're getting it right, but I think there are wins along the way, and you got to take those wins and really internalize them and say, like, I'm doing my best, and that's really good.
Yeah, well said. Well said. And I will say, as someone who has not been able to pick up kids from school and has had the opportunity to pick up kids from school in different seasons of life, the one word answers are often the same, whether we're in the car or we're not. When I find my kids open up to me, and maybe you feel this too, is at bedtime when I'm exhausted and not my best self. So
Yes.
there you have it.
I have to tell you that is something many people probably don't know about me. Like, I fall asleep every night in my kid's bed. And the reason is that I also find that it's a really special moment where they're vulnerable and they're open right before bed. And so I really try and get in there. And I try to have even just one conversation in that moment, because it helps me feel connected. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, you look for little moments that help you achieve what you're trying to achieve, the connection, and so I just always try to remember what's most important, focus on those things, and just keep trying to find those moments and those wins throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I want to ask you a logistical question about this, since you're saying you fall asleep in the kid's bed, because I'm like struggling with this right now. I've got 4 kids. Everybody wants mom at bedtime. I'm like, I tell the kids at 9:00 I'm off mom duty. Like, I just can't anymore. So do you rotate who you go to each night, or do you do all 3 each night? Because bedtime for me, when I go to everyone's bed and talk to them and say goodnight, is like an hour ordeal.
Yeah, I definitely believe that you can't do it all, and you can't do it all the time. So first of all, My husband, I am lucky that he wants to play an active role. He takes one of the kids, so we really try and kind of divide and conquer when possible. And you know what? I think kids do best when you set expectations ahead. Because
Yes.
at that moment, everybody wants mom. But if you're just trying to stick to a plan, well, you know that we're on a rotation and today I'm with Nev and tomorrow I'm with Rafa, that at least helps. No one is ever like, oh, thank you. I get it in the moment. So no guilt.
Oh, thanks for telling me.
Try to set expectations and stand to your ground.
Yeah.
It helps.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to know. I feel like we're doing that, but maybe there was a magical tip I was missing here about bedtime.
No.
Yeah.
I'd rather do one bedtime really well than try to do all 3 bedtimes. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yes.
It's kind of my philosophy, like do one thing, do it well, then move on, rather than trying to do it all at once and feeling like you're not doing anything well. Because we know
Absolutely.
so often that feels terrible.
That goes for so much in life. I agree. Yeah. So what is dreaming big? Because you had this big dream of this company before it even started, I imagine, right? But what does dreaming big look like in the midst of all the stuff you're doing every day, right? School drop-offs, answering work emails, trying to stay sane, cleaning up the kitchen, packing lunches. Any advice for moms who are really in the thick of it? And I feel like working moms, like we just are, like we're in this constant routine of just, having to do things and get things done to keep the ship moving, right? But also we crave this, we have this ambition and we crave this growth and achievement. How do you marry the two worlds?
In my past career, I often found it hard to find models of women who refused to compromise, who said, I have ambitions, professional ambitions, and I also really care about family. And I want both, and I can have both. And it's really important to me to have both and to create a network of women around me who also value having both and helping to mentor other women to know that they can have both. And so, first of all, it's really creating that community of women who are exchanging ideas, who are trying to figure it out. And having those models and having those conversations, I think, helps everybody continue to reach for the stars with their ambition and their achievement and with their family life. I think simplifying is the answer. There's a lot you want to do, but you can't do it all and you have to prioritize. So I try to just be really clear on my priorities, really try to simplify and think of it as seasons, as we're saying. What is important now? And then we'll graduate to the next kind of season, and then what will be important then, and just take it piece by piece. So that's kind of something that helps me not get overwhelmed with everything, but take a moment in time, think about that season, make choices, knowing that you can't do it all, but you can prioritize what's most important.
Yeah. How do you personally prioritize and simplify? Do you just say no to things? Are you a big delegator? What's your top tip for that?
It's actually both. So with no, I have realized it's not just saying no, it's saying no pretty fast. Because if you eventually say no, but you don't say no right away, you actually prolong your guilt about saying no. Whereas if you can say no fast, then you can just be decisive and move on. I find sometimes when I wait to say no, I walk around with this guilt that I'm gonna say no. It's no, just say no, have faith that you are saying no to prioritize other things and move on. Delegating, yes, I am a delegator. You can't both find time and also have to make every decision yourself. Like, my nanny is incredible, and, I am clear on my expectations around food, around what my kids wear, and I really empower her to do as much as possible, because it's the only way to actually do all the things. And so delegation is really important. Again, like, what's important for you to do yourself, and what can you be really clear on your expectations, and get others to help. Bringing it back to feeding, I think that is something that we really think about a lot with formula. Like, feeding is such a bonding experience sometimes when you're in the right headspace, when you can take some time, but you can't always do that. And so actually, what a beautiful thing to include others in the feeding journey too. We created these anywhere packs, which are pre-measured, mess-free, single serve, on the go formula packets. And they're great for on the go, but they're also great for handing to a caregiver or to your partner or somebody else to, in a really easy way, do the feed and, help out. And I think that when we can empower others to be part of the routines, then it just means that we can get a lot more done. And I don't think we should have guilt on that. I think delegation is important, and partnership, and it truly takes a village.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just really quick, you made me think about my previous feeding journeys, right? I've got 4 kids. The first 2 were twins, preemie twins. Second, and then third, and then a fourth. I can't count. Anyway, losing count. I breastfed my last baby. My middle guy, I pumped for a little while and then switched to formula. And the preemie twins, the pumping lasted. It was very short lived. It was baptism by fire into motherhood there. Okay. So I've kind of experienced lots of different ways of feeding your babies. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to get hate for this, but it was a little easier sometimes with formula to delegate the feeding, right? I mean, to get help and support when it came to that, because even if you are pumping, you're still producing the food, and that takes time and energy and effort. And so if you are formula feeding like that, and I know it's a bonding experience, but there are opportunities to really get that support and delegation. And the other thing I wanted to touch upon that you mentioned that really hits home is when you're in the right headspace, right? And listen, we're not always in the right headspace, and we still got to feed the baby or get things done or clean up the kitchen or whatever it is. But the difference of what that feels like. Is that task more enjoyable and beautiful and really energizing to you? Or sometimes that task feels like your brain is going a mile a minute of all the things that you also need to be doing. And if there's a very capable person right there that can help you with that task or with a different task in that moment, it's okay to lean on that.
Couldn't agree more. With breastfeeding, I remember my mom telling me, "Isn't it beautiful?" And I said, "Well, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's painful and it's not working and I don't have enough supply. And so many things make it stressful and hard." When you're feeding, there's so much involved, and it can be so many different experiences. And you're absolutely right that we need to go easy on ourselves, because when we are in the right mindset, everything's different.
Yes.
Mom health, mental health, physical health, and baby health and parent health are so related. And so I always think about how can we focus more on how do we take care of ourselves, because taking care of ourselves is part of taking care of our families. And so having different options for how we feed, having different support systems and partners, it's all such a critical part of raising a family. And yeah, you are a core part of it. And I think that we should really kind of celebrate when we're able to have more support and bring others in, and have different options and tools for how we navigate feeding in the best way possible for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a really personal choice and personal decision. And sometimes the plan that you had doesn't always go that way, as we all know. And so it's good to have these additional resources out there that we feel confident and capable to utilize.
Yeah. And sometimes getting in the right headspace for me means like, okay, taking a walk in between work and home because I need transition time.
Yes.
Because if I just ram myself from my work life to my home life, I can't come in being as kind of calm and caring and my mom self as I want to be. And then I feel bad about the way that I showed up. And so sometimes it's about like creating these transition moments. Or another thing is I really try and prioritize a weekly date with my husband because when we're connected and we're on the same page, then again, it creates greater harmony for the rest of the family. So I think, yeah, these investments in you and your relationship with your partner, I think are all important parts of feeling good about the way you're managing family life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Mia, we're going to jump into our lightning round now. This is where we like to ask our guests just random, personal, fun questions just to get to know you a little bit more on the, outside of what you do professionally. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. What is your guilty pleasure TV show?
I would say right now it's Paw Patrol because it puts my 4-year-old in a trance and then I can actually win back a few minutes to actually get things done for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that. I get that. If they made a movie about your life, who would you want to play you?
Definitely my 10-year-old Nev, kind of a sassy, energetic little mini me. She'd do the
Okay.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. What's something most people may not know about you?
Um, I would probably say what we were talking about before that my little secret that I'm asleep at 8:30 in my kid's bed every night,
Yeah.
but I absolutely love it and it gives me kind of this balance and stability that I get that time, that really special time with them at the end of the night.
What time do you wake up in the morning? I'm curious.
Like 5:30, I really value that morning time, just a little
Yeah.
bit, like a couple cups of coffee before my kids get up.
Yeah. 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 Totally. All right. Last question. Let's see. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? Calories don't count.
Um, I love cupcakes. What can I say? I actually have a tradition at home where if it's one of my kids' birthdays or my husband's or my nanny's, we eat cupcakes for breakfast. And it's very fun. It's the
Yeah.
6 most fun mornings. And I definitely eat my cupcake too.
Yeah. I mean, cupcakes, muffins, it's all the same.
Bring it on. Love it all.
Yeah. All right, Mia. Well, I know that ByHeart has so generously given our Mama Work It community a promo code for 30% off subscriptions, which is ByHeart Mama. We're going to pop it in today's show notes. Tell us where we can learn more about ByHeart, where we can connect with you, and then we'll wrap up today.
Great. Well, our strategy at ByHeart is really to be everywhere that parents need us to be. We know parenting is hard enough. You're juggling a million things. And so we want to be available wherever you need us. So you can find us on byheart.com, where you can join a feeding plan subscription, or you can just buy it directly there. Or across 12,000 stores, whether it be your local grocer or Whole Foods, Target, Walmart, Albertsons, Kroger, you name it. And so find us in your grocery store, mass. Now we're on Sam's Club as well. So really should be very easy to find us, or Amazon, of course. But a good place to start is byheart.com.
Love it. Mia, thank you so much for being a guest, sharing more about your personal journey, about this amazing product. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it too. Wonderful to speak with you.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you feel empowered, inspired, and ready to take your next step. If this episode spoke to you, share it with another amazing mama, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. It helps us show up wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to head over to mamaworkit.com for free resources, coaching support, and new ways to momage your days as a busy mom. Until next time, keep on working it, mama.